Hey guys, Ben Rams here. So yes, today we're going to be reviewing Raven. Yes, so this 5-issue mini-series which has been combined into one big graphic novel. I've read it, so let's review it. So yes, just in case you guys have not read this awesome graphic novel yet, I definitely recommend, if you're a fan of the character Raven or just a fan of DC Comics in general, go out and read this before watching this review, as this review will contain spoilers for all 5 issues of this Raven miniseries. So if you have not read it, I strongly recommend it, and then come back to this spoiler comic review. So the main story in this 5-issue miniseries, in this big graphic novel, is the character of Raven, who we all know from Teen Titans, is taking a break from the Teen Titans, and she's actually going to go visit her family in San Francisco, where she discovers that her mother actually has a family that she never told her about. So Raven has an aunt, an uncle, 2 cousins, so she goes and stays with them in San Francisco, as she kind of fancies a break from the whole superhero life, hanging out with the Titans. She just wants to kind of feel normal for a change, which, you know, that's a very relatable thing, especially, you know, if your life is filled up with crime fighting evil 24/7. Just as Raven's getting settled into her brand new home and she's started high school and she's trying to mingle with everyone there, strange things start to happen in San Francisco when a strange ball of light starts to form, and then soon enough more and more people end up going into this ball of light until suddenly it starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then before we know it, nearly all of San Francisco has been possessed by this strange ball of light, and it's up to Raven to find out what this thing is, as she's the only one who's not possessed, hence because she shares the same sort of magical energy as this weird energy magic ball thing that's just randomly formed in a random warehouse in San Francisco. So it's up to Raven to find out what this thing is and why is it possessing people, and why can't she go into the ball of light like everyone else. This was one of the things I wasn't a massive fan of in this graphic novel, because basically this huge ball of light, while it is a big threat to Raven and the whole of San Francisco, when I picked up this comic I was kind of expecting like a more physical threat for Raven to deal with, you know, to kind of show off her powers and all of that. You know, rather than just her constantly trying to hit a massive energy ball and then constantly getting backlash and getting thrown across the city. It kind of became a bit repetitive after a while, especially the way that Raven ends up dealing with this giant ball of light and ends up defeating it at the end of the story, where all she does is basically combines her powers with all the other possessed people, so she uses all of their life force energy and then boom, just bounces that all onto this big ball of light, and then ultimately just blowing it up, and then that's it, the whole story's over. And I was kind of like, really? It's a great story. It was a great little limited 5-issue story, but I felt like some of it could have been condensed down, especially when you have such a kind of cheap ending like this throughout the whole story. She's trying to stop people from going through that, and yet she didn't even think the whole time, wait, what if I combine and use everyone's life force to defeat this thing? Maybe that will work. That never came into her head at all throughout the comic. Like, there's a great scene early on in this graphic novel where Raven's having a nightmare in her aunt's house, and then she wakes up, but then in the dream she's being taunted by her brothers, you know, who are also the sons of Trigon, just like she is the daughter of Trigon. She has her brothers tormenting her, saying, "You betrayed Trigon, you know, you will pay for this, we're coming for you, Raven, all my days, you better watch out." And then that's it. And then that's it. We never see them physically in the comic again, or we don't even hear them mentioned throughout the comic again. It's like, that would have been a great story if her brothers had escaped from the prison and then coming after her. That would have been a great story, because it would have been a great family dilemma at the same time. Kind of like, guys, I betrayed Trigon, you guys can do it too. And then it's a whole situation where it's kind of like, you know, I don't really want to kill you because technically we're family, even though we look nothing alike. But still, it's one of them traumas where it's like, for Raven, that would have been a really good emotional story to tell. And again, it kind of relates back to the whole Trigon thing, which is famous as part of Raven's character. I feel like that would have been more of an interesting story, instead of her fighting Trigon like we've seen in every single incarnation of her character. That's like the only villain she ever fights. instead of Trigon, have her fight her own brothers, because then you've got that family drama at the same time, and her trying to convince them to betray Trigon, saying, no, he's just gonna use you and then that's it, it's over with, like, he doesn't care about you, just like he doesn't care about me. See, you could have done a really interesting story right there, and still have them do what Trigon was doing, where have those brothers try and take over San Francisco, but trying to burn everything, and Raven has to stop them. I feel like that could have been a really good story, but no, they didn't take it down that road. I mean, I'm glad they kind of did avoid the Trigon thing, because even if they did do her brothers, that's kind of going back to, you know, all the stories that have happened with her in the past, either on the TV show Teen Titans, or any other comics with the Teen Titans in the past. You know, it's kind of going back to that whole Trigon thing. I'm glad that they went for a different villain this time, so it's kind of something a bit different to what fans like me, who are a fan of the character of Raven, are used to. So, you know, I kind of appreciate them for moving away from the Trigon sort of storyline, but, you know, elements of it are still there, hence at the beginning of this comic when we see her brothers. So it's kind of like, why would you throw that in? I mean, I understand it's there for character development, but I don't know, maybe they're teasing it for another solo series coming soon. If that's the case, then, I mean, good job foreshadowing the future, guys. That is one thing I think is worth mentioning, how this character gets the character of Raven so spot on. Like, it's the exact same character I remember growing up watching on the Teen Titans TV show. Her characteristics, the things she says, the way she acts in this book, honestly, it is the Raven I grew up with, and the Raven I still know from other animated films which have come from DC, and other comics that have happened with her in the past. Like, this is the Raven I grew up with from the Teen Titans cartoon, and I love that, because that's what I was expecting when picking up this comic. I was like, right, Raven is my favourite character from the Teen Titans cartoon. I want to learn more about her. Oh, there's a new series coming out soon? Right, I'll pick that up then. And then, yeah, this series honestly got the character so spot on, and they did a magnificent job. Anyway, I'm going off topic. Now let's talk about some of the supporting characters in this graphic novel. So, some of them were good and some of them were bad. So, let's start with the good. The good ones were her family. So, all the panel pages that involved her family, they were all good scenes, essentially. You know, any times where Raven was having a nightmare and her family would be there to support her, that was great. Whenever they were at the dinner table and they'd be discussing things like their religion and you know, and all of that, then that would be great as well. And even when Raven's out in the battle and it cuts back to her home at aunt and uncle and cousin's house, they're watching the news and her cousin wants to help, so she goes out and helps Raven, and then later on her aunt even helps Raven. So all those scenes earlier on in the graphic novel, they all kind of help build up to this big climactic moment where it's all about family in a way. So essentially her aunt goes down to support her in the final battle by giving her an emotional speech, and even her cousin wants to help fight this evil, strange being with Raven, because obviously she cares about Raven and doesn't want to see her cousin get hurt. Those were really good scenes, and I love that in the graphic novel, which meant all the scenes earlier in the family paid off. However, the characters that we meet in high school, who are Raven's friends throughout this graphic novel, you know, some of their panel pages were good, but then there are a few other panel pages where that, you know, they just kind of felt kind of useless. It was like, such as, for example, early on in the graphic novel, I mean, you know, they serve a purpose. Raven's in high school, you know, she needs to sort of hang out with people to make it interesting. So, you know, that was kind of good. It was typical high school stuff. I'm talking about more later on in the final climactic battle in this graphic novel, where there's this one girl whose name escapes me right now, but yeah, she's blonde and she's at the hospital because she can't find a lot of her friends. Her parents don't live with her anymore. She's kind of on her own. All the panels that she's featured in at the hospital just involve her crying and saying to the doctors or Raven or whoever else is in the scene, just saying that I have no idea what's going on, and just freaking out and crying. And, you know, at the beginning I was like, okay, this is understandable. It's kind of like an apocalyptic situation here. Anyone would be freaking out right now if their friends were missing. I'd be freaking out if my friends were missing. But after a while, it does get a bit tedious and does get a bit annoying, because it's kind of like it will cut from Raven battling this mysterious entity that then all of a sudden cutting back to her at the hospital with her friends, and they're all talking about like, oh, Raven's a Teen Titan? How did we not know? Oh my days, this changes everything. Oh my days, we're hanging out with a Teen Titan, whoa! So these scenes with these high school characters, when it's just them, when Raven isn't in the room and it's during the climactic battle, they kind of feel a bit pointless, considering like at the very end of this graphic novel, they end up having their memories wiped by Raven anyway. So just like with everyone in San Francisco who gets their memory wiped. So it's kind of like these scenes in the graphic novel, they kind of, yeah, you could have just cut them out, because it's kind of like they won't really serve a purpose, considering we're probably never going to see these characters ever again in any other DC comic. So yeah. However, there are some great moments that happen in this graphic novel, such as there's a scene quite early on in the graphic novel when Raven's first starting high school, and because obviously Raven stands out a bit with the blue hood and the kind of gothic look going on. She kind of stands out from everyone in high school, and these three teenage girls are kind of making fun of her because Raven ends up throwing up in a bin because, you know, there's like demons trying to control her early on in the story, and she feels like she's being possessed, which causes her to throw up in a bin, and these three teenage girls end up laughing at her. So Raven then casts a spell on them where they think that all of a sudden these girls think they're pregnant because their stomachs are getting bigger and fatter, and it's kind of meant to be their worst fear come true, like a early pregnancy kind of thing. And I thought it was really funny, honestly. It's just because no one else in the room can see this. Like, in all fairness, these girls are just, you know, the same body type to everyone else, but to them what they see is a big belly, and all of a sudden them three girls are pregnant. Like, that's what they see, but no one else sees. So it makes them look like they're freaking out over nothing, essentially, making them look like the weird and crazy ones. So I thought scenes like that were really good and really showed off kind of Raven's dark sense of humour. Or there's another great scene much later on in this graphic novel, I believe in either issue 3 or 4. It's either one of them issues 3 or 4 in this 5-issue miniseries, where this small group of people in costumes, they act as kind of like a mini terrorist group, and they kind of see the news, they see this big ball of light, and they kind of use this to their advantage. They're kind of like, oh, no one knows where this ball of light comes from, huh? Well, how about we give the president a good call, or we do a big international video message saying, right, we're the ones that have created this giant ball of light, we're the ones that are sucking all these people in and ultimately killing them, possibly. So yeah, if you want us to stop this big ball of light, we want you to transfer like millions and hundreds of thousands of dollars to our account. Do it now, and then we'll stop this giant energy light. Which is all false, because they have no idea what it is anyway. They're just like everyone else, they have no idea what it is. But it's kind of like, they're using the fear of what everyone's feeling at that point to kind of use to their advantage, and then that's when Raven crashes into their apartment, and it's kind of like, no, you are not controlling this, like, you are just using this is propaganda, you are just trying to use this as a situation to get money, basically, you sick bastards, why are you doing this? So essentially she almost goes full demon. Like, this is a great panel where you see her and she goes almost full demon, like you can see the Trigon 4 eyes there, her whole body's beginning to sort of turn into the demon goddess Trigon's always wanted her to be. But then there's a great moment where she realises, no, wait, I am not Trigon's daughter. I will never become like him. I will never be like Trigon. And it's a really good moment. So then she realises that no, she needs to hold back, and then she's like, no, the proper authorities will take care of you. And then leaves, and then goes back to the final battle. I thought that was an amazing panel. I thought that was an amazing scene, especially for the character of Raven. That's another great thing about this graphic novel, is the artwork is outstanding. It's amazing. Like, sometimes I'll pick up a graphic novel or a comic and I'll be like, yeah, the story's good, but the art, it's not really selling me on the artwork alone or the drawing style. But no, seriously, the art in this book is absolutely amazing. Like, I mean, they have the artists on the back of the book right here, Alison Borges and Diogenes Neves. I really hope I pronounced those names right, because I really don't want to cause any disrespect to the two people who drew this graphic novel, this mini-series, because honestly, all of the artwork is outstanding. And honestly, that was another great thing about this book, is when I picked it up, I was like, story's great, artwork's great. Those are two essential things you need for when you're crafting a really good comic series or just a standalone graphic novel. Overall, this book reminds me of why Raven still continues to be my favourite DC character of all time. I know she's not a lot of people's favourite DC character, but to me, when I was a kid watching her in the Teen Titans TV show, I don't know, there was always something about her. There was always something that intrigued me about her. Like, you know, I had her action figure as a kid, and, you know, I'd always play with her action figure along with the other Teen Titans, but there was always something about that character that really intrigued me. And even as a kid, when I was watching the Teen Titans TV show, I was like, I really want to learn more about this character Raven, because she's so mysterious, and she's just like, why doesn't she care about anything? Like, what's her deal? Why is she like this? Why is her personality like this? Why does she not laugh at any of Beast Boy's jokes? Why is she constantly being serious when the others are having fun? You know, these kind of things, and this comic really delves into those things. Like I mentioned, she's battling her own demons in her head and in her dreams, and, you know, constantly she's basically, yeah, battling to keep freedom of her soul. This book was exactly what I expected for a Raven solo series, which fans of the character like me have wanted for so long now, and now we finally have our Raven solo series, and it honestly delivers so well. And, you know, I especially love the fact how this is a 5-issue miniseries. It's not a big ongoing series like some of the other DC Rebirth titles are doing right now. You know, comics like Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn, Batman, Superman, Green Lantern, Flash, all that. All these big, long, ongoing series which I know are going to be continuing on for a long time, way past the 25-issue mark. But this, it's a strict 5-issue miniseries, issue 1 to issue 5, done. It's one complete story, done. I like it when comics do this, whether it's DC, whether it's Marvel, or any other comics company. I love it when they do these little stories, focusing on these little characters which, you know, wouldn't work as a long, ongoing series, as I just mentioned, but as a 5-issue mini-arc, then, yeah, they work. They definitely work. I like it when comic companies do this, and, you know, it's kind of nice. It's just a complete story. I can sit down, read it all, and I'm like, right, book's done. I don't have to wait months for the next graphic novel to find out what happens next to this character. Which is why I'm going to give Raven a rating of a 7 out of 10. This book was amazing. I know you're probably thinking, why have I given it a 7 out of 10? If I'm such a big fan of the character of Raven, why am I giving it a 7 out of 10? Well, that's true. I am a big fan of the character Raven. At the same time, I've got to keep in mind that I can't just let my fanboyism just take complete control. I've got to be kind of critical, just like I am with film and TV. You know, maybe it's a show I like, maybe it's a film I like, but there are still some things that bugged me, and, you know, I can't just kind of ignore them, such as with this graphic novel. The plot, I felt like could have been a bit better. And some of the high school characters, maybe they could have been handled a bit better, or maybe been a bit more involved in the final battle, rather than just, oh, standing there in the hospital during this, and their scenes kind of just feel a bit wasted. It's kind of things like that. Or, you know, and the main villain was kind of weak, because there wasn't really a villain, it was just kind of like a big embodiment of light. There was no physical threat, which I was kind of expecting, but overall, story was great, character development was great, and honestly, I can't wait to read more of Raven later on when, yeah, I believe next month when Teen Titans Volume 1 comes out, and I'll be definitely reviewing that, as Raven's featured in that, along with Damian Wayne, Beast Boy, Kid Flash, Starfire, because, like I said, I'm a fan of Teen Titans, and I can't wait to get my hands on this new DC Rebirth Teen Titans series and begin reading that. Anyway, guys, that is going to be it for my Raven review. If you like this review, then feel free to subscribe to get more graphic novel reviews in the future, as this is a brand new thing I'm starting to do on my channel, amongst other various videos which I'm going to be doing in the future, such as film reviews, gameplay videos, all that good junk. Yeah, so subscribe for all that, and if you like this video, then, well, like the video. Yeah, it's as simple as that. So anyway, guys, that is going to be it for me today. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next video. Ta-ra.